Hey and welcome back everybody. We will be getting into eSuba versus ESG real shortly, and this match, I'm quite hyped for it. I mean, the two victors of the previous matches, both of them being pretty one-sided, I would say. eSuba's match, it could have been finished a little bit earlier, but then it was just such a stomp. 15,000 gold of a lead. You very rarely get to see that happen anymore. While ESG, they had a pretty flawless one, pretty smooth one. Only the bottom lane slightly struggling, and that was the only tower that they lost because they had like 10 to 1 in terms of the turrets, in terms of that overall score at the end of the game. And they had a little bit of hiccups. It wasn't such a one-sided stomp, but I feel like it was a little bit faster than eSuba's game. Now, both of them will face off against each other, and eSuba slightly forcing through with brute force, sometimes making a little bit of mistakes, sometimes losing their AD carry in the bottom lane and when it wasn't so necessary, when he was split pushing or chasing the enemies a little bit too far. But I feel like it comes from them not really putting their best into the game, like not necessarily being so focused on the victory once they got that huge advantage going, because at the point they had 10,000 gold of a lead, yeah, they tended to just make a little bit of a mistake here, a little bit of a mistake there. But this time, I'm quite sure that they're going to keep their 100% focus against Euronics. They have to win this winner's match, and then if they do, they're going to get 2 hours of a break at least. They will be just watching the losers match and then the deciders match, and then they will be perfectly prepared for the best of 3 finals that's about to come. They can warm up in the meantime. They can just come up with some strats while the enemy team will be playing, so they won't have the possibility to know what's sitting in the minds of that enemy team, while their regular tactics will be read, unless they've got some really big amounts of them prepared. But overall, I feel like we should not see like major changes. But what I mentioned is that we did not see a completely aggressive kind of setup this far. Very often, like most of the time or all of the time this far, we do get to see like slightly tankier support, slightly more secure in order to be safe in terms of your AD carry. But then there's still a possibility. I mean, everything that's on the mouths of the supports at the moment is ardent sensor. This far, we don't get to see a single champion that would be able to use it. So finally, maybe one team will come up with a champion that will buy that ardent sensor for itself. But this far, also, it doesn't seem like it would be any kind of additional benefit. Because like the game this far was over around 15 minutes if we're talking about eSuba versus Bulldog. So right there, the support wasn't even able to get to the point where he would start getting the vital items for himself. And in the match of Euronics, they also finished quite quickly, and especially the bottom lane was not necessarily their main point of focus because it was the only lane that was losing for them, so they also didn't get a lot of gold. But then think about the other way. Possibly if Camille's got himself snowballed enough alongside with Karzi out there, then that Caitlyn would have been even stronger, and maybe that Tristana wouldn't have anything to say. But also, we were talking with Nikita about the possibilities for the next game if it comes, and he asked me if maybe there is a possibility that this Tristana is going to be taken away. I don't think that Tristana was a problem at all. They could control the bottom lane very well, and they had a lot of opportunities where they could have killed their enemies, but they never really quite made it. So for the next time, just correct that little mistake and everything's going to be perfect. And if we're talking about eSuba, they definitely won't be worried about that Tristana coming out from Euronics. And yeah, I feel like in this game, something more surprising has to happen from either team if they really want to seal their victory this far. In the winners brackets, already if you grab the victory, you are guaranteeing yourself that you'll be the favorite walking into the grand finals, as of course it's going to just be a repeated matchup. If you make it a stomp, then definitely everybody will be expecting you to win, and then it's just up to you to just make some mistakes again, just mess it up. If you just continue just as right or along the pattern that you chose in the winners match, then definitely you're going to have the upper hand. But we'll see how that works out here, actually. Euronics, in my opinion, also coming into this one as a little underdogs, but you could already hear in the introduction with Ecstatic facing off against them, a little bit more people clapped, a little bit of a bias towards the German team, towards the local team right here. So Euronics definitely have the support. And is the support, the sixth player, so to speak, going to be enough for them to beat eSuba? We'll find out really shortly. Also, what I want to mention is right here, like all of the teams, or maybe most, maybe one team alone does not have an additional person with them, but most of them or all of them have a manager or a coach or something along these lines with them. So it will be a lot of help also preparing for the following matches, and definitely that could impact the way we see the game in the coming maps right here in the League of Legends Legend Series number 1. And already it's going to get tough for the losers brackets team, definitely. We get to see Ecstatic facing off against Bulldog, but after this match, right now we are fighting to figure out the finalists. And overall, as I mentioned, I feel like eSuba are going to have the upper hand, but Euronics, they already mentioned, they are up to the task. They just have to give their best. They feel like if they give their best, they're able to win this tournament, and I believe so too. They were the ones upset in the groups once by Game Miser. Maybe it's the time to return the favor and now upset eSuba right here, thus grabbing the spot in the grand finals in this best of 3. Not a one-map lead, not really anything too advantageous right there, but definitely a little bit of rest, definitely some time to recover right here, and overall gather up the intel on the enemy teams. So definitely both the teams will fight hard to get that, although it's not going to be the end of the world if one of them loses. And yeah, luckily enough, the grand finals is a best of 3 right here. This is something that's real nice to hear, because the only flaw that I could see in this group setup when we were playing the group stages is that, yeah, you've got the lower brackets, but the winner brackets team doesn't really get any kind of advantage, and they even get a disadvantage that if they go all the way through the upper brackets, there's not going to be that one loss of a grace period for them anymore, because you lose in the finals, you're out. You don't even have to lose a match earlier or later, you are just simply out. But this time it is going to be a best of 3, so even if you lose the first map, you've still got the time to recover. You've still got the time to read your enemy a little bit better, so it's not as disadvantageous, maybe not, but not as uncomfortable to come in from the winners brackets. But yeah, still, as we mentioned, like the time off that the team will get is definitely a little bit of something, and especially if you've got a manager or that kind of a coach, the players can rest a little bit, or they can have a little bit of fun. They can relax themselves while the coach gathers up the info, so they don't even have to do it themselves, and that way it can work even better. Right now, I could see Euronics heading to this stage, so shortly enough, these guys should be showing up there already and getting themselves prepared for the winners match right here in the Legend Series. And yeah, walking into this tournament, I was kind of unsure, what is the level going to be? Are we also going to get to see like the groups repeated with one team completely dominating, or are they going to be at least 2 contenders for the throne, for the trophy that you could see on the stage? There's a big silver, if I'm not mistaken, trophy out there, and it looks real nice. It also is themed, so to speak. It is definitely fitting the theme of the Big Betty, because maybe it's not so visible when you're watching like the stage, or me myself, because I'm completely outside of the area. I'm behind the truck, but it's a huge mobile esports arena. It's a truck that can be taken anywhere pretty much. So yeah, when you get some different shots at the studios, that is actually a garage, then you'll get to see what it looks like. And yeah, the trophy surely fits the entire atmosphere of this place, and I always love it when I'm here. So overall, if you would like or are thinking about getting here for one of the Legend Series, or maybe a different tournament that's going to be organized by ELC Gaming, because the Legend Series is not on the only thing that we have up our sleeve. We're just waiting to reveal the cards. So then you should definitely get the tickets and show up right here when you get the occasion. Anyway, though, for eSuba, we got the interview with Sekutka, the top laner, after their victory against Bulldog Esports. And for Euronics, we had Donards talking about his performance on the Gragas in the jungle and about setting the tempo of the game against Ecstatis. So right now, wondering how these two will face off against each other. Wardyne on the lineup of Euronics. He was just dominant on this Jarvan, completely punishing the Shen. But I'm not too sure if that's going to be possible against Sekutka, who's a very strong top laner. Overall, not only in the lineup of eSuba, but not only on the Czech scene, but also in the solo queue. He's quite known, and a lot of people respect him. A lot of people are afraid to go up against him. If Humanoid is going to be given the Syndra again, that could be a big problem. If, once again, we're going to get to see an Ahri, surely a lot of interesting stuff is going to happen. Both the junglers, Yaki has been the main pillar of the team for their match against Bulldog Esports. Donards also made it a lot for Euronics. So right here, these two will have to face off against each other. And I feel like we could see a lot more sparks between the junglers, a lot more counter jungling, a lot more aggression out there, and maybe different champions. But that might also force a lot more bans on towards the jungle, and that's going to be a little bit of a problem. So yeah, finally we got to see that Jarvan indeed is quite impressive. That is a champion that I am quite afraid of in the top lane. Just seeing that it's coming back into the pro play. I'm thinking that he can be a pure monster, and so wondering how everybody's going to be able to use him. But once again, we don't get to see the Zac, we don't get to see the Galio. Once again, the Fiora and the Cannon in the top lane are completely ruled out. There's still a possibility to pull out some different AP champions, maybe, possibly. But overall, I feel like seeing definitely that Cannon in the top lane or something along these lines. But maybe it's just not going to happen due to the bans, because this far the bans staying very, very similar. This time, though, the Syndra was banned out. Lelution was taken away to ignore the risk of having to face off against him in the middle lane, possibly. Twitch, interestingly enough, is a focus for both the teams this far. For not only both, but also all the teams for the other two that are going to be playing this matchup. So wondering if it's going to change around, because I'm saying that maybe we're going to get to see some changes in the top lane, like a Cannon showing up, like a Fiora, or maybe something AP-oriented. Of course, Rumble is always in the cards out there. And also the support, something more aggressive, like the Zyra, like the Janna, like the Karma. And why I'm mentioning Janna is because of the Ardent Sensor and Zeke's Herald combo right now that should be extremely strong. So yeah, there's the possibility of that happening. And right now, just waiting for all the players to ready up, because if I remember correctly, actually Euronics Gaming were switching their places on the stage, so they also have to replug themselves in. In the meantime, eSuba solidly setting up on the PCs that they already played on, so they should be quite familiar with them and quite comfortable with what it looks like. And yeah, I just mentioned the support role, the top lane role, where we could see some changes. I mentioned that Donards, I did not recognize him from this side. Like, playing the Gragas, I thought it would be maybe less impressive than the other champions that he's shown in the group stages, but it wasn't any kind of less impressive. It was just as good, but then that just shows you how deep of a champion pool he's got, how broad of a champion pool maybe that way. And we don't get to see that Lee Sin. He gets banned very often. We don't get to see that Zac, but then there's the Kazakhs, there's the Elite. There's still a Graves opening possibly left out there. And I remember correctly that in Group A, Graves was a massive focus. In Group A of the group stage of this Legend series, where Alzek status got the first place, Graves was picked nearly for the every single game out there. So so there's still a possibility of that kind of coming back maybe on the tournament. Maybe Alzek status will actually pull out that Grave and use the experience that they got in the group to just get some better of a performance than they got against Euronics. But Bulldog Esports and Alzec status, that is happening later. And I'm already sad that we're going to have to say goodbye to one of these teams. Well, unfortunately, Bulldog were completely stumped into the ground by eSuba, and Ecstatus also did not have a lot of luck against Euronics, but they had a good and strong bot lane, so that's going to be something that Bulldog can get out of there. They will know that it might be a little bit more of a point of concern for Alzec status, that the other lanes might have a little bit of an easier time, because folks was getting completely bullied in the top lane by Takutka. So, as I mentioned, Wardine was the one victorious in the previous match for Euronics. Takutka was stomping the enemy top laner into the ground himself. But I feel like Wardine got much more of a farm lead out there. He had much better of a map pressure. Maybe if somebody is able to keep up with him, if he could just follow the other top laner and not allow him to snowball so much, it's not going to be possible for Euronics to find their strength in that field. Anyway, though, Euronics Gaming, where they are not the ones that are playing in the Challenger Series qualifiers, they're not the main team that's getting a lot of exposure out there, but they're definitely already showing some good promise in here, and now it's going to be their major test. They themselves think that they might have a chance of taking it home. eSuba, on the other hand, is a team that's definitely the same or higher, a little bit higher, a little bit lower class of a team, but definitely along the lines of that main team for ESG. So this is going to be a big test for them. If they can beat eSuba, or if they can at least get close, they will know that they have some fundamentals. They have some working ground that they can just expand on. And definitely that's going to also give the organization a signal that, well, the ESG's main team might not necessarily be the only one that's capable of reaching far high up there in the ranks of League of Legends, because definitely qualifying for the Challenger Series is already a big feat. It already gives you some nice payouts. It already gives you the security. You're just playing in a league with like constructed splits where you're gonna have matches to play against really good teams no matter what. Then you're gonna get that chance of a promotion into LCS, and that of course is the dream of every single player. But as I said before the previous match started, I was mentioning the local scenes, the local tournaments. They're just evolving, expanding all the time, and I mean, teams from the wildcard region during the previous World Championships also got a little bit of success right there. So possibly that isn't even going to be the aim for ESG. Maybe they will want to stay in the German league or transfer themselves to some other region to possibly get maybe a little bit of an easier road towards the World Championships. Because yeah, LCS is definitely a point of focus for these teams, but surely also getting to the World Championships is going to be the best of them all, right? But then you don't want to find yourself in a position of like being the first place team in Europe and then getting completely demolished without a chance to do anything on the World Championships, right? Yeah, that brings some memories if we're talking about the European region. But yeah, here we can see the teams discussing things with each other. Possibly it might already be the ban phase rather. Right here. So yeah, eSuba versus Euronics Gaming, the very important match, and I feel like yeah, it is being dragged out a little bit, the start of this game, but I also feel like I know why. I mean, I realize the importance of this matchup, and sure, it is extremely important for both the teams to be 100% ready to kick it off. But most importantly, you can see the big groups of people standing next to each other, but these are only the players and their managers slash coaches. So no technical issues right there. You can see Willie, who's standing in the door on the stage right now on your cameras. He's our admin. So if anything technical is going to go wrong, you will see him in the works. So him standing right now idly is definitely a good sign. And also Nikita getting ready to show up on the stage with the teams to introduce them to get a little bit of a pre-game talk. And I'm definitely very interested in what both the teams will have to say. And eSuba already into the previous match, walking pretty humbly. saying that they are not expecting to crush anybody, but they completely obliterated Bulldogs. So wondering what they really think about the match against Euronics. Since the previous one was quite smooth for them, do they expect this one to be the same? Of course, they're going to try to conceal it, but maybe we can get anything out of them. Segutka, he was the one that was interviewed before the previous match, and he was the one interviewed after the match. He's the guy that we're hearing the most out of eSuba. He's the voice of the team. While for Euronics, we had Pretty and Donards also already chiming in. And yeah, just picks and bans, a very, very important phase of this this match that's going to happen. I mean, the pressure on ESG, I feel like, is going to be a little bit bigger, right? Because of how eSuba confidently took the previous match. But then on the other hand, the Euronics can motivate themselves with the fact that, right, Ecstatis is the second best team in Czech Republic and Slovakia. They're fighting to bring eSuba down. If they were able to also they were able to not have so many difficulties against Ecstatis, then that might tell them that eSuba is definitely in range of being taken down by them. So surely I'm looking forward to that. And I'm saying that eSuba is definitely the favorite walking into this matchup. And I feel like Euronics are going to get a lot of support from the fans right here, from the Germans that are here in Germany, of course, as the tournament is happening in Hamburg. Euronics being a German-based team overall. Plus, there's the momentum going from beating Ecstatis. I feel like this could be enough of a factor to just put them on top. Although, surely eSuba is a scary enemy. So wondering if once again that Tristana is going to be brought out. As I said, I don't think it was a big problem for Ecstatis. I don't think it was something to be focused on. But then you've got the Gragas. Yeah, sure, but Donards can perform on any other jungler just as good as on the Gragas. So I also don't think that they should play around that. Maybe just look for some weak points of the enemy team. Maybe that could be the possibility. So, yeah, indeed, that Tristana was not a problem, was not what broke the game for Ecstatis. It was rather breaking the game for Euronics. So if they once again decide to go for that, maybe eSuba will want to bait them into taking that AD carry again. Maybe they'll go for many, or multiple rather, AD carry bans. That could be an interesting thing happening right here. But for now, we don't yet have any info on what the bans are. We're still waiting for the P&B phase to start. And we're looking at the teams on the stage, and they're still discussing stuff, and they're going through everything. But basically, you could see that everyone was very focused. There was nobody laughing around. Everybody was just looking at one point. Everybody was focused. Both of them have... I think Euronics Gaming for sure have a coach right here, because I could see him going like with a big notepad, just noting everything down, just breaking it down to the team players. While for eSuba, the man more looked like a manager, because he was like looking from behind. He was just curious what the players were talking about. But then also on the other hand, like the players are not like so much more important than the coach. Or rather the other way around. So the coach also listens to the players' suggestions most of the time. Anyway, though, we are ready for the pre-game interviews with Nikita on the stage. So let's check that out.
Thank you very much, Nero. Yes, I'm here with the two King captains. I guess eSuba, you guys had a pretty good draft, and you've just gotten Galio, which is a power pick. So how are you feeling?
Well, I'm not really happy because I'm playing it. But I guess...
Well, I mean, hearing him say that, how do you feel?
I feel good, I guess. Like, I got a good matchup on top lane, so yeah, I feel confident.
Okay, well, that's good to hear. So, were you expecting the result from the last game?
From this game?
For the last one, did you expect Euronics to win?
Yeah, I expected that, but now I'm not really sure because ESG is a really strong opponent, and we will see.
Okay, well, I guess we will. Well, good luck to you. And how are you guys feeling? You're obviously playing. You did great last game, and you got Jarvan this time. So how are you feeling?
Yeah, I got Jarvan again. Yeah, I feel confident, as I said, and I also think we kind of won out in draft. So overall, I think we got the better champions, so we should win.
Excellent. I guess we'll see. So good luck. Cheers then.
Good luck.
Thanks a lot. Best of luck to the two teams, and back to you, Nero.
All right, I just can't wait to see that draft then. Euronics saying that they will be a little bit more confident with the champions that they got, while on the other hand, eSuba got their hands on the Galio. That's something I would not really be expecting necessarily. The Galio and Zac seemed like must-have bans, but something different happened, and we're about to see that for sure in just a couple of seconds. They didn't spoil too much for us, luckily enough, because we only know the top laners. But yeah, the Jarvan from Ordine was indeed very, very impressive last time. So I'm just wondering if he's going to be able to go rampaging like that against Sikutka too, because as I said, it's not going to be an easy task, but definitely a possibility of that happening exists. So what do you think? I think you saw that pick and ban phase a little bit more in depth because...
Interesting. I mean, it's Euronics said they got the best of it, but I don't know. Galio is very strong at the moment. They also picked up Graves. They picked up Syndra, didn't they, as well?
I didn't see it.
Yeah, I think they did, and so it seems like a lot of good. I mean, on both sides, I think they got very comfortable champions and very strong champions. We'll see how it goes. It's definitely. I think it could go either way. I think it was a great call for them to ban Gragas, because they noticed that he really was a playmaker, or maybe it was from the interview or whatever. But hopefully they'll still be able to do quite a lot. I mean, we have a Kha'Zix versus Graves matchup, so that will be both are quite high damage dealers in a slightly different way. But then neither of them have CC. I mean, apart from the smoke screen, which is not a hard CC, and Kha'Zix has a slow, but nothing too, no hard CC. It's, I would say, more soft CC. So it'll be interesting to see. It's a very different role to the games previously that they played. So how they match up and what they end up doing.
Yeah, and which team has a Kha'Zix? Is it Euronics? Yeah,
yes, it is. It is
you said
Euronics. Euronics has
Galio.
and it is the other team that
Okay,
they have,
so this is pretty good in my opinion. Donards with Kha'Zix is, or depends, because he played Kha'Zix 2 times in the group stage. First time he was non-existent, he got like 0-7 or whatever, and he lost the team the game. And the other time he just completely demolished his enemies. So wondering which Donards is going to show up right here, but he definitely had a good start in the Gragas. And as I mentioned, like, in my opinion, the Gragas from him is not any kind of exceptional because he's as good on any other champion in the jungle. But then, as you say, Gragas is definitely a playmaker champion with the explosive cask, with the body slams, with the flash. You can just do so much. And right now, not having that hard CC, as you mentioned, is going to be a completely different of a thing. But then you saw how eSuba dominated with the Kha'Zix.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I mean, I saw how well he did on Kha'Zix. Graves is great, and he's a great player. What I'm really interested in seeing is Sikutka, so the top lane of eSuba on Galio, because Galio is a power pick, and Sikutka has been playing very well. And from what you were telling me, that actually in solo queue, he's been dominating everyone. So it will be really, it'll be interesting to see what he's able to do with that champion.
Well, maybe not everyone, but he's definitely up there in the competition. He's facing off against them on an equal level. So yeah, that's really good. But him saying he's not confident in the Galio, I wouldn't trust him so much, right?
Yeah, no, I think that was... they seem very respectful, which is very nice, but I think they're trying to make the other team underestimate them.
Oh, maybe a little bit underestimate them. Maybe like just make the atmosphere a little bit less dense out there, because winners match, quite a big deal. Definitely is going to matter walking into the grand finals, whether you have to play 2 more hours before playing another best of 3, or whether you get the 2 hours of a break, right?
Absolutely, and I mean, it's not just that. They also, whoever wins this match secures themselves €750, which isn't an insignificant sum. So, they make sure that they're arriving in second place, and at least, and that's important. I hope we get a really close match. I think Euronics performed really well last time. eSuba has obviously played very well, and I hope this is going to be a close match, because I wouldn't be surprised. I guess if these teams match up again in the finals, and it would be nice to see them get a bit of a read of one another and then see how it goes.
Yeah, it definitely could be the thing that will happen. But Euronics, they won against Ecstatis, right? And you asked Tsekutka if he expected that kind of outcome, and he said yes,
Yeah.
kind of outright. He didn't even think about it too much.
No.
So yeah, I think that possibly Euronics were indeed such a favorite right there, and maybe eSuba are not so afraid of them after all. If they knew at what level Ecstatis stands, and they knew that Euronics is going to beat them. If they are so good at like ranging the enemy's skill level, then they definitely know how to read that game. They definitely see a lot from the maps that they watch already, and they definitely watch the match Euronics played against Ecstatis. They know exactly how Ecstatis play. They know everything about their playstyle, so it's going to make it much easier because they know their weaknesses. They know which Euronics noticed, which they didn't, and where they can just abuse them in that field. At least that's what I feel. And Euronics walking into this tournament, in the first match, they already told you that they don't know so much about the other teams. So eSuba definitely should have the upper hand here.
But eSuba is the most famous team here, the most well-known one. So out of anyone, yes, Euronics might not know about the other teams, and I can understand, like, you know, they're not as, especially like, so Bulldogs are a much newer team, like in this team comp with the two new players that they had, or newer players, I should say, not necessarily new, but you know, eSuba's been around for quite a while. They are up there, so you would expect Euronics to have an idea. I think what just completely different is it was very nice to see actually a status sitting together, laughing and so on. So it doesn't seem that they've taken their defeat too heavily. And I also saw the Bulldogs in the stands looking quite intent and, you know, focusing and paying attention. So it will be interesting to see how they perform, but neither of them seem to have taken their losses too hard, which is important, I think.
Yeah, that's the thing. I definitely think like being so cheerful on Ecstatis doesn't come from nowhere, and I feel like even after the loss, they definitely feel it, but they're not gonna like completely get demotivated or depressed about it. While on Bulldogs, I feel that the pressure is really on them right now. They have to perform in the next match, otherwise they would have just come here to lose, to not achieve anything, and they'll just go back home being really disappointed. While Ecstatis, well, they have their friends from eSuba right here. They're still going to have some good time, of course, and chill out with their friends, actually. But for Bulldogs, definitely, as they said, it's one of the first LANs in this lineup. They get to know each other. They see each other face to face. It's also, in my opinion, it's going to build up the team a little bit. But the question is, can they actually back it up with a victory also?
Well, I think that actually, you know, you're saying obviously the goal of any team is to win, and I don't think you ever get to this level without being very competitive and to hate losing. But I think Bulldogs have already gotten something from this in that LAN experience, and they'll get another match. They're playing in an international tournament, and I think that sort of stuff is invaluable, and it's important for them to not get too disheartened. Like, you're right, they should do their best, and hopefully they'll be able to give us a good showing and win the next match, or potentially win it. But it's not the be-all and end-all. It's also just the experience and getting that comfort of playing against the best teams, and you get better by playing against better teams. So I think it's a great way for them to look at it, and hopefully they're able to look at it like that.
Yeah, so comparing it a little bit in terms of the experience of the teams, we definitely have eSuba right here, who are right at the top with the international experience, and they're the lineup that's been with each other the longest time in here on this LAN tournament. Then I would say ESG would also have a little bit of that international experience, maybe not necessarily every single player, but they do know what it looks like and stuff like that. On Ecstatis, they might have tasted some international tournaments, but not necessarily. And Bulldog, they told us that they never played an international tournament, right? And they even, during the group stages, they told us that they mostly took part in the UK tournaments right there. So, yeah, that's what it looks like. So
I
rating
actually
them in terms of experience, it would be eSuba 1, ESG 2, Ecstatis 3, and Bulldog 4. But the question is, will it be all about the experience? And there comes the determination and also just your natural resistance to what's happening on LAN, because you might have been to like 100 LANs and you're still getting stressed out in front of cameras or something.
Yes.
And it might be your first one, but you're as natural as Camilius is.
Exactly. Or you could be Golden Glue, who doesn't perform as well on stage. We hear all about him so doing great in on stream and everything. But I just realized that actually I was watching the pick and ban live, and this is why you were not.
Yeah.
So we are pick and bans now on screen. So as I was mentioning, the Gragas was banned out by eSuba, so they obviously respect the playmaking of Donards and how well on point he was with that. We have Twitch again and a newcomer in Rakan. So what do you think about that?
Yeah, pretty interesting. I definitely expected eSuba to focus a little bit on that bot lane, maybe a little bit more than just the Twitch, because it seems like it's a must-have ban apparently, since it's banned the third time in a row already. But then an instantly locked in Galio from eSuba. Maybe that was just a suggestion from the rest of the team also, not necessarily like waiting for Tsekutka to say anything about his playstyle on this champion or whatever, but yeah, they did go for it.
Absolutely. I mean, it's possible, but it's, for someone who is saying that he's not necessarily so comfortable on it, to first pick it is ballsy, but maybe it's just not the most exciting. Maybe he wants to play something a little bit like more in your face. But I feel like Galio is, I don't know, since then he's with power pick. I expected Zach again. It looks like he's not getting through, and Lee Sin as well. The Thresh ban is interesting. They obviously respect the playmaking of Dedic.
That's definitely a thing I noticed. The Thresh ban, like the Rakan ban, it kind of surprises me a little bit. But possibly they took a look at the group stages, and there we did get to see quite a bit of Xayah, a little bit of Rakan, which is really interesting because it would be the other way around that the real pro players say. They say that maybe Rakan would be useful, but then Xayah not so much. And then we did get to see more Xayah in the group stages rather than Rakan right here in the Legend Series. But most of the time people actually say that if you don't get the two champion combination, it's not worth it to go for it. So possibly just one ban is enough. Anyway, the Thresh ban, I'm not sure if I can already say that I like it or not, but definitely it forces more squishy champions to show up on the bottom lane, and that way we already get to see Azira picked up as a support. And then there's a misfortune from eSuba, and you probably already know where this is going. But for me, with Tristana popping up already, not necessarily sure which role it's going to take.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's we were discussing this off screen, and we were talking about whether the teams would ban Tristana or just encourage them to take it because they've seen the opportunity. And I mean, Ixatis handled it well in lane. It was just as a whole team they weren't able to. So I don't think the other teams should be too afraid of it. I think it's interesting that Syndra, they managed to secure Syndra on Humanoid again, because I thought he played it very well, and he was really, as we were talking about, unfortunately, they were missing the charms previously on Ari, whereas Humanoid was not missing the stuns at all with Syndra.
Yeah, that's the thing. He's always hitting that stun of his. And, well, banning all of these AD carries right there from Euronics, Ashe and Varus immediately picked off while picking up Caitlyn for themselves. They forced eSuba into a pretty uncomfortable of a situation, but they decided to back off towards Jhin. So, indeed, that's going to be the Misfortune support. And then the Graves into the jungle that you already mentioned. And, yeah, we already know that it's going to be the Jarvan facing off against Galio in the top lane. But I can also see that this time it was not a Fiora and Kennen ban. In the second rotation, it's actually a Fiora and Shen. Yep. So there's that opening in the form of a Kennen. And I was discussing when you were watching the bans live, I was just filling in the screen time, so to speak. So I was mentioning the possibility of maybe a Kennen or something more AP-based showing up in that top lane. But apparently we don't get to see that with all these opportunities open. There's actually a Jarvan pick.
Yeah, and I think, I can understand it. He did well last game on it. And when I interviewed him, he felt very comfortable and he was happy that he got it. It's definitely, I thought he comboed it very well with Donards. I'm forgetting his name. Donards.
With the Gragas.
With the Gragas. So we had the body slams into the Jarvan ult. So it'll be interesting to see if they can do it, because obviously they don't have that CC. I'm excited to see Zyra Caitlyn in bot lane, because that is obviously, that can, with the stuns, the roots into the traps, that can create a lot of CC and take the other ADC or support off. And MF is quite a squishy support.
All right, I can see where ESG is going with the statement that they won a little bit in the picks and bans, because they didn't say that they decisively won, that hands down they won in the picks and bans. They said that they have a little bit of an advantage. And I can surely see that because the bottom lane for eSuba definitely seems questionable. And overall, the combination that you've got on ESG with the Jarvan, with the Kha'Zix, the ball delivery system is there for Orianna, so that's going to be pretty easy to set up these situations with two different heroes to choose from. And then you've got the Caitlyn and Zyra that you mentioned yourself in the bottom lane. So if this Jhin and Misfortune doesn't work out, even if at least for 30 seconds, I think it could be enough for ESG to use that opportunity. And yeah, last time they struggled a little bit with the Tristana, but when they have such a solid AD carry as Caitlyn, then possibly they're not going to have to experiment anymore, and they're just going to take over the lead. So Humanoid, for me, definitely a point of focus for on eSuba. Yeki, he proved a lot with the Kha'Zix, with the Graves. I'm also wondering if he's going to be able to pull that off, and he's got a little bit of a challenge going up against himself, because Donars is a strong jungler. And yeah, we might be seeing a ton of aggression from both these guys. Sekutka, he himself said that he's not so comfortable on the Galio. But in my opinion, the most important thing right here is not going to be giving Wardine so much of a space for working like he did get against Ecstatus, because they're doubling the farm of Chen, 100 to 50. Then taking down the turret, then he was teleporting all over the map, just ganking without the enemy reacting. So that was just a massive advantage given to him without any act taken by Ecstatus. So right here, I believe even if Sekutka is not going to be a god of this Galio, he's at least going to know the basics of playing the top lane. So he'll know how to not let that ESG's top laner go rampaging.
I would be very surprised if he's not comfortable with Galio. I think maybe it's just not his favorite champion to play, but you know, I don't think you first pick a champion that you can't play. I think, you know, when we had Euronics say that they won the picks and bans, I actually think that the bot lane is why. I don't think eSuba expected that double ban of Varus and Ashe at the bottom lane, and then first picking Caitlyn right after that, which forced you know, eSuba onto Jhin. So it probably wasn't what they were expecting. They were probably hoping to get the Caitlyn or, you know, one of the other carries, the Ashe or something, to combo that with MF. Oh, a bit of damage there.
Yeah, a little bit of damage delivered. Already Humanoid getting a tiny bit of a lead for himself, since that's 5 CS of a difference, and then half HP gone for Pretty. So that's surely showing us something, and with he showing up right here, we might be getting more and bigger aggression this time from the Czech team. And the Kha'Zix is a little bit behind. That's definitely going to be first blood, but what next? Kha'Zix cannot catch up. Donards is late on this counter gank in the middle lane, so that's a clean first blood for eSuba. And additionally, with Donards being right behind his enemy, there's not even a chance for him to gank anywhere else to kind of counter that initiative from eSuba, so he's behind in terms of impact.
Yeah, and I mean, we see the, you know, Syndra pick once again just paying off, because there we go, he hit that stun straight away, straight into the damage from the Graves, and all done. So I think people need to maybe... Syndra's gotten into easily twice now, and it's been quite pivotal. So it'll be interesting to see, and like the damage from Graves just means that once you're stunned up, that's it.
Oh, man. Tanner is going to be a little bit annoyed by that misfortune, and yeah, surely banning out a lot of the AD carries is a point on ESG's side, but the misfortune into Zyra is a very popular counter pick, where people just bully the hell out of the Zyra, and you can clearly see how that works alongside with Jhin also, because with Make It Rain, you can easily just trigger the damage onto both the enemies, then you can easily hit the roots on Jhin. And if Sheriff is just accurate enough, it's, for me, very much possible to work out.
Absolutely. So we just saw, you know, Euronics try to make a play mid, but unfortunately it didn't work out. We are getting close to 6 on both mid laners, so it'll be interesting. Both of them are playmakers, but here we go. Once again, Pretty is on, and there we go, he's dead. That stun hits, and then Graves comes in, and there's just nothing that Pretty seems to be able to do.
Yeah, he hitting his level 6, he didn't even level up the ultimate, even after that entire situation in the middle lane. Anyway, though, He did pretty well, but the help was not as necessary. Humanoid is already starting to get going on the Syndra. The kill is one-time landing on the account of Yaki, one-time landing on the account of Humanoid. Both of them are going to be content. Once again, Donart's making the mistake of ganking the middle lane, not being able to do anything other, or rather than ganking, I would say showing up on the middle lane, because last time he didn't even interfere. He just walked past the enemies that already were stepping on the dead body of his teammate. And what I wanted to point out also, we saw Donart's ganking and it didn't work out. Then I already saw the difference in CS that there is. And then after that, Yaki got another successful gank. So that just makes this difference between the junglers so deep already.
Absolutely, and I think Donart's was, you know, maybe not going for a gank but trying to counter gank, but he's showing up just a little bit too late. And the truth is that Pretty's too much on the back foot compared to Humanoid. So even if he does turn up, I'm not sure they can take them 2v2. Now, I mean, like, what's really, I mean, we'll have to see if Pretty gets taken out again, because Humanoid is level 6 and Pretty is still level 5. So, you know, there's a chance that Syndra could 100-0 Pretty.
I'm quite sure that ESG did see what happened right now in the bottom lane. They wanted to catch a recalling player from Euronics Gaming, and Sheriff, he randomly used up his heal. They didn't manage to catch up to him, and that's a wasted summoner spell. I guess that's something to work with, but then with the advantage that eSuba is already building up, 10 CS advantage over that Caitlyn, the Zyra cannot do anything because she's constantly zoned by the Misfortune, and there's the roots I was talking about, how these easily can hit. Donart's forced back into his jungle. Luckily enough, it's not the enemy mid laner that comes around the corner. It was Pretty, so he was secure, safe, and stays alive. But you can see how badly this far this Kazakh is doing in the jungle, and it's not about him making mistakes. He's just a little bit late compared to Yaki. Yaki is just doing everything so much better, and then keeps the information for his team. They control the movements on Donart, so Sheriff and Denny can so easily just move around there.
Yeah, well, I mean, Donut actually did the right thing there, because he read that Yaki had gone and taken his red with the Syndra, so he thought an invade was right. But, you know, eSuba was just on the ball right there and ready to kind of jump in and protect that red. Luckily, he got out, and I like the concept, I like the theory of him invading to try and pull some advantage back, but they definitely need to pull it off, because if not, it's going to be a real problem.
Well, right now, the advantage is being built up on all other places of the map for the lineup of the Czech and Slovakian team. The top lane, where Wardyne was able to completely dominate in the previous matchup against Extended right here, doesn't necessarily, I don't want to say exist, because it would mean that he's being dominated, but he's not teleporting, he's not helping the team, he's not destroying the enemy CS, he's not touching the turret, he's not doing any of the things that he'd done in the previous match. And just take a look at the difference already.
Yeah, I mean, he's not being allowed to, really. I think it's just Sagutka is really controlling. I don't think he's controlling the tempo, but he's definitely not giving you know, Only Problem the opportunity to do what he was doing last game. Has he caught his out?
Yeah, that's going to be a little bit of a trade right here, but I don't think that there's a danger of Wardyne dying, although using his combo on the enemy might also not have been the greatest idea. The damage from Galio still is quite considerable, so if you get hit by the wind slash from both the sides, it hurts. Yeah,
well, I mean, he just lost 2/3 of his health, and you've got to ask yourself, is it worth it? Because now he's vulnerable up top, and he's called up Donart to kind of protect him, but once again we're in the situation where is Yeski just going to steal this and kill Donut? Oh my god, that's so close.
Interesting. He did go for a very aggressive of a setup right there. There's the Galio ult. Sagutka definitely forcing a good one, and that's gonna be a kill. Not necessarily, not yet. I thought that the shield would save the Jarvan, but that doesn't happen. And in the meantime, Yaki finishes off the deal. He wanted to kill Donars in the jungle. He did that, but a couple of seconds later and underneath the top turret. And a good setup from Sagutka. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Right here, Yaki would have been in trouble if not that ultimate from Galio. That forced Wardyne to fall back, and he started falling back even a little bit too late to escape the Syndra. Even though a lot of summoner spells was burned on the lineup of eSuba, I don't think they lost anything else. In the middle lane, Pretty's not able to do a lot of damage to that turret. In the bottom lane, of course, it's still a 2v2, nothing happening around there. The Rift Herald, excuse me, is going to be pretty important. If ESG take that Herald, even if they're not able to land any more damage on the middle turret, it is going to take it down with a single headbutt. So that's potentially what ESG has earned right here. But I don't think that they're in a position to take that Rift Herald easily. And there's Sheriff setting up a curtain call, although, okay, it's a good guy, he's not going to catch anybody out. A good knock-up. Panda kind of saving the situation, because with eSuba's advantage, I feel that they would be crazy enough to go for a dive right there, and they probably could even get a double kill. But in the meantime, we finally get to see Humanoid falling down. It's not even yet a shutdown, he didn't have a killing spree just yet, but a good kill nevertheless. I was talking about how Pretty is going to have some good ball delivery system, and him getting something going, at least not falling behind so much, is going to be quite important. But for now, he's got 2 Doran rings, and that means nothing.
Yeah, no, but I think, you know, psychologically that's important. You know, Pretty kind of got manhandled in the early game in lane, you know, with getting killed twice. And the fact that Donarts and him managed to turn that around and get a kill on Humanoid, I think for them will just remind them, you know, it's not so far gone that they can't come back. And, you know, there's definitely ways to turn this around. Like you said, there we go. We had the fight of Rift Scuttler. eSuba got that, and are they going to make a play for the Mountain Drake?
It's going to be quite important, definitely. Especially if that Rift Herald is going to be a little bit of a focus, as it always is, then that Mountain Drake will massively help out. It's a good call right now being pinged by ESG. He's clearing out a control ward. Kha'Zix is not staying in the vicinity, and in my opinion, it's a good idea, because they know that eSuba have been walking around that river a little bit too much lately. And just take a look at the vision coverage right there. 3 stealth wards, 3 control wards, excuse me. And you can clearly see how much they want to dominate this part of the map. And also with the blue buff coming up in a little bit of time, there's a possibility for eSuba to maybe try to counter jungle a little bit. If they have somebody in the vicinity, maybe go for a pick. If they pick somebody up, that's an easy dragon.
Well, what I'd be interested in seeing is we've actually seen Kha'Zix solo the Rift Herald a few times. Oh, look, and we got some action on the middle.
Yep,
Pretty is just, and there we go. And Syndra has been deleted. So this is good because, you know, they haven't let it dishearten them. Donarts is still focusing on the mid lane with Pretty, and they're working out very well and have now managed to kill Syndra twice. You know, I feel like the mid lane is at least in farm, is even. Now, the jungler CS can be kind of deceptive because of the Scuttler and the other jungle creatures, so it's tricky to know exactly the gold difference. It's better for the items. But here we go, some action in the bot lane again.
Oh yeah, the curtain call, it alone is enough to already put the pressure, enough to force out a heal from the enemy team. And yeah, I still remember that fail heal from Sheriff while trying to chase down a recalling enemy. Now that's going to be much more of an important one. The siege is happening. The turret is not going to even get beaten up so much. I mean, you're still facing off against a Zyra and a Caitlyn in the lane, so it's hard to push them down, but eSuba is showing the pressure. In the middle lane, they're starting to lose a little bit of momentum, but I'm wondering what Yaki's going to do on that Graves. He's still ahead, as you mentioned, like, there are different values of different camps in the jungler. However, still, the difference in CS so big in the jungle as doubling it is going to be a lot, and we don't know exactly how much money it's going to be, but I'm guessing, okay, we get to see that
about
now.
1,300,
yeah, about 1,000 I would have
which is
said.
significant. And then if we're looking, but it's interesting to look at the mid lane, that's only a 500 difference, but that's also in the bot lane, that's another 500 for burst of support and the AD carry. And I think Sheriff and Denik have definitely...
Okay, it's going to be fine.
Good damage though. But yeah, so going back, Sheriff and Denik have really done very well at creating kind of tempo advantage in the bot lane. They have all their summoners up, whereas the flashes from Mermal and Panda were down. Mermal's is coming up, so it'll be interesting. There is a skirmishing mid.
Oh,
good damage
Grasping
flash.
Roots catches Yaki, but fortunately enough, he's going to be able to run away with a flash. This far, very good shockwaves from Preet. They're not kind of huge combos with like 3-4 people getting caught out, because we didn't get to see some big team fights yet. But getting these single picks the thing that they lack. Because when they have nothing, it's always worth to get at least a single kill if you're safe that you're not going to die and you're not going to need the ultimate like 15 seconds after. In my opinion, it looks very good for Bree this far. He's doing as best as he can up against Humanoid Syndra. That's a feat not a lot of people are able to achieve.
Absolutely, I agree with you. And I think for me, I kind of want to go back to the mental aspect of the game. I think it's very good to see them not being disheartened and also not throwing away and going for taking unnecessary risks. It seems like they've calmed down, they're farming, they're getting back into the game, they're trying to lessen the gold advantage. And when they see opportunities to grab those picks, it's worth it. And yes, okay, he didn't get the kill with his Orianna ultimate, but nonetheless, it was still very effective and got a flash and opened up mid a little bit more.
Donard's only now going towards that Drake, and it's a free Drake for Yaki right there. He's heading up, so that's a little bit of a risk, yeah, because he could be walking straight into the Kha'Zix. He's going to be dead for sure, but then the Gali ultimate pretty should also be going down. The curtain call is shooting him down. Pretty though, another kill for him, and the curtain call, I think it was interrupted by the Zyra, if I'm not mistaken, by her ultimate, but then there's another route, and with Zakutka showing up, he had to finally do something, so he did not manage to finish off the Kha'Zix, but he did manage to grab the AD carry of the enemy team, but now they're losing their support. Zakutka also is in the danger of going down himself. Banner has to fall back, cannot stay in the zone anymore. Good flash from Zakutka, also not even receiving the damage from the Cataclysm, but overall, the team fight very much in the favor of ESG. Or I feel like in this situation that eSuba were caught in, they limited their losses right here. But the biggest mistake right there that was made, it was Yaki heading up. Because they knew that Donarch was in the top part of the jungle. The top laner was also going right there, that was War9. Oh, let's take a look here, because Donarch might be dying. Indeed, he's gonna get shot down. So important kill for Zakutka, and now it's gonna end down there in the bottom lane. It's gonna settle down for a moment. But Yaki did not expect the Donarch to show up on the Drake pit so early. And also seeing like 600 HP left on the Drake. No smite was being used, because he had used it a little bit earlier, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, Yaki definitely felt a little bit too relaxed in this situation. And I feel like going back down to the bottom lane would have been a much better choice, but then he didn't know about it. They didn't have the vision coverage. That forced him into an uncomfortable team fight, but he can clearly see that they don't care about it. They just recovered from that instantly. Humanoid real close to dying, but since he survived, it's not going to make a difference, and he might find another kill out of this one. Okay, Caitlyn still has the 90 caliber net, but there
48 health.
There's the collateral damage, and real close, but no kills from both the sides. Humanoid very low, Murmel very low. But what's the most important thing right now is the Rift Herald was taken by Yaki. I was talking about how it would be valuable for ESG. It would make it much easier for them to find a turret in the middle lane, because that definitely is in the range of being taken down, but that is already down. Now the bottom lane is just sitting on fumes, and seeing Zakutka right there is not going to go down too quickly. And I feel like eSuba will be focusing on taking out the outer layer of turrets right now. And as I said, facing off against a Caitlyn and a Zyra, there was not much eSuba could have done in the bottom lane. But now, right now, Zakutka, being the dominant player that he is, he probably will try to scratch it at least a little bit. And that's with this little charge right there, forcing just Kha'Zix to jump away. He's gotten his team the turret in the middle lane, but they used up the Rift Herald, and I don't think it was necessary right there, actually. But there we go.
No, I agree with you. I'm not sure Rift Herald was necessary there. I think we're going back just to your points about the fight. I think ESG definitely played that fight very well. They saw the opportunity. Donarch did the damage. Humanoid nearly dying mid. We're just seeing that actually the game is still very close, and it can go either way, but it was a good reaction. I think both teams reacted very well. ESG saw the opportunities, played it well, got the kills, pushed a bit bot lane, but then Zakutka did excellent in bot lane in securing that kind of kill, and then from that the rest of the team pushes and using that momentum to take the Rift Herald and then mid and so on. We have a bit of a rest at the moment. But when I'm looking at the CS, you know, you mentioned bot lane, Caitlyn Zyra. It was nowhere near as dominant as I expected. I think MF, you know, Denik really played it very well at keeping Zyra down.
Yeah, definitely. That was definitely a big point in that bottom lane. But even though they were not able to keep up with the farm so much, they did not give up any turret health. And after all, it all comes down to this. If ESG were able to take the turret advantage, which right now is 2-2, with the Rift Herald being taken by eSuba, in my opinion, ESG might even be ahead in these terms, if they just work it out right. Right now, though, Pretty is going to have to protect Panda. He's losing a little bit of HP, but will get out of there more or less unscathed. That doesn't even have his flash, but thanks to that, he didn't have to burn it. But with this push from Sekutka, there is no advantage for ESG in terms of the turrets anymore.
No, I mean, clever of Sekutka to sit bot, and I'm not sure they should have left him unsupervised. I think it's interesting to see the Kazakhs. You know, it's good that he managed to get the kills, because a Kazakhs with no kills is not a good Kazakhs. But a Kazakhs with some kills could very quickly delete some squishy targets. And I definitely think that, you know, eSuba had that. eSuba just seems to be slightly behind, ahead of Euronics in terms of map movements and understanding where to push and where to fall back and when they need the full team and when they don't. So it's important to see now that we have, only problems. Javan's teleport is up now. And Sekutka's will be up soon, but there is a little bit of time where they can potentially create something. It looks like they're going for it at the top.
Well, they're looking for it, and Humanoids has proven to be quite exposed to damage this far, and he's not going to be able to get that kill. Pretty on a killing spree. Once again, the Orianna completely destroys the Syndrayans. Humanoid must be pretty angry at the moment. Never really finds any support. It's the third time, or fourth time even, that he dies, and many of these times he was caught by the shockwave, and instantly after somebody followed up from the enemy team, and he never actually got support right there. So they were good at limiting Donarch's performance around the middle lane at the very start of the game, but I feel like Iki has dropped a little bit of that momentum, and after his death and that unsuccessful team fight on the Drake, he is much less confident.
Well, this is great by Euronics to see them taking this Drake and jumping on the opportunity. I mean, I have to say I'm so impressed by Pretty's performance. He's jumped in, he recognized the opening up top. They got that kill. Donard said Pretty got the first kill, but then after that, Pretty's damage on the other two really forced it. He forced out MF's ult. So it's really interesting to see them, their head in the games and like their opportunities. They're definitely keeping it close, and now it's one mounted Drake to one mounted Drake, so it evens itself out.
Yeah, for sure important for ESG. Now they kind of sealed the victory on the previous team fight. Like, they killed off most of the enemy team after eSuba got the Mountain Drake. But right now, they get that Mountain Drake back. So that makes it a full victorious team fight. They still have the Dragon on their side. Right now, the items are piling up, and very strong items to it.
Yeah, for sure. We had a brief pause, and it looks like the game's back up. I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay. There we go.
There we go. It seemed like the pause was just still on, but without the notification. Maybe a little bit of a graphical point, though doesn't matter. So Kutka in the bottom lane facing off against Warden. I'm wondering who's going to have the upper hand, because right now I feel like in terms of the map activity, still Sekutka seems to be a little bit ahead. He's got the good Galliolds this far. He's got a good split push going on that bottom lane with taking down one turret. That definitely is a lot of pressure while his top turret is still alive. So that just shows us that War9 did not really work so hard on taking that one off.
Absolutely, and they're pinging the top turret, and the farm at the top, so it looks like Sekutka and oh, what's happening here?
Okay, that's a little bit of a pile up with these ultimates.
Yeah.
We've got bullet time, we've got curtain call. Curtain call wasn't even able to fire because the guy got erased completely, and that's a good setup from eSuba, although using up so much on just one single person, the question is, will they be able to keep up or safely get out of here? Apparently yes is the answer. And
yeah.
Flash burned by Murmel, flash burned by Pandar. Not looking too good for the bottom lane of ESG, and they got a little bit ahead in terms of the CS at some point. Now they're once again behind by 20. And so, good exhaust, a very important exhaust because Humanoid was getting punished by Pretty so much, and now that you raise the people underneath the turret, that you chase down Pretty, and this is a team fight that gives eSo the upper hand decisively for once. They will be headed over to the Baron, and I don't think that there is much for ESG to prevent that from happening, although the Cyrus ultimate can be very lethal on such small pitch. And also, there's War9, who is not looking so weak, so maybe the Jarvan can still do something about it, but
I
they
don't
both
think
just
so. I think they just don't have the vision, and the two of them, like, it would be different if the last fight had been more even and the health bars were lower, because definitely the AoE combo of the two champions of Jarvan and Zyra definitely could do something. But with how it went, it just, you know, they saw an opportunity in that pick and they jumped into it. Yeah, I think we're seeing two very good teams, you know, who are able to keep their head in the game and who are looking for those opportunities. Now they have the Baron. I think Euronics need to, I mean, I'm going on about this, but just slow down, take a step back, farm up a bit, and make sure that the, you know, eSuba can't take too much.
Yeah, it's still throughout the entirety of the game, it feels like for 90% of it, eSuba has the upper hand. But then ESG had that one good team fight that has equalized the situation. But then Tekutka split pushing the turret was what once again brought the advantage over to eSuba. Now they finally have a decisive advantage, and unless they make some big mistakes, it is going to stay that way. Now, usually when you pick up the Baron, you want to get the turrets. You want, at this stage of the game, maybe not necessarily take care of an inhibitor, but they definitely would like to take down the remaining inner turrets, or at least two of them, and possibly assault an inhibitor turret. Not necessarily sure about an inhibitor itself though, because that would be maybe pushing it a little bit too far. But the question is how well it's gonna go, because Tekutka right now soaking up a ton of the damage. If he's able to hit something real well, if he's able to go for a good ultimate or a good taunt, then why not?
Yeah, and I think, you know, they made the right call there. They were grouping in the bottom jungle. They put down some wards to make sure that they had good vision, and then Tekutka just pushed up the wave and the whole team rotated over. I'm not sure that Euronics could have done much there, especially with Mermal being mid and pushing that out, but that was important so that eSuba couldn't just rotate from the bottom tower after taking that to the mid tower and taking that as well. So some damage control, which is good, and we just saw the Graves ult from Yeki.
Yeah, and the unleashed power from Humanoid also. Donarts did receive a lot of damage, but though he also managed to survive, which is very important because right now a little bit of firepower is down for eSuba. But I definitely like what they're doing right here. They're not idly waiting. They took the turret in the bottom lane, they take control of the upper jungle and tried to go for a pick. The pick didn't work out, but they just shouldn't get discouraged. They should just continue what they're doing, and in the meantime they're preparing a top lane push and also boosting up the minions in the middle lane. That's going to be the second inner turret taken, and also Donards got out again! He just recalled to base. They used up 2 ultimates on him, and he just wants them to do more, but now he is real punished for that. And this opens up even more of a possibility to take out the third and last inner turret in the middle lane because of the one-man lead and because of how important Donards is to his lineup. Pretty all alone after all. The shockwave will be coming back up, but I don't think he'll be able to do much.
No, and you know, Donards is playing very upfront, and he's not on that Gragas anymore. He's not as tanky. He can't go up front and do that damage. He needs to be looking for small opportunities to grab picks, but instead he's the one who's getting caught out and picked. They're now looking to do damage to Tekutka, but I mean, under tower, 2 or 3 ults there, and he just walks away.
Yeah, that's the thing.
They get 2 towers from that. That's
in the last team fight in the bottom lane, Tekutka just spotted out how much or how few damage they actually do to him, how little rather, and he just gets in. He just doesn't care. The turret's hitting him, he's getting hit by the ultimates, he just wants to get the taunts down, and Tekutka now seems invincible, and I definitely do not trust him that he does not play that Galio well. As once again sets his sights on Donards. That seems to be that little bug that he wants to squash, and definitely seems to be the easiest targets at the moment because Donards every single time he's just getting a little bit too close, and that's not necessarily the smartest idea. Once again, he will be the one that dies, and I thought that maybe with this Baron they're not going to be able to assault the inhibitors, but instead they take 2 of them down, so it worked out more than perfectly for eSuba, and we have another Mountain Drake ready. If they want to take that, it could be quite useful, but a huge wave of minions is coming down the bottom lane. Somebody will definitely want to soak that up, farm that up. And, yeah.
Well, it's just crazy how much they took from that. You know, we were seeing them take the bot tower, and they rotated mid, and okay, it looked like, you know, they did a bit of damage. Unfortunately, Donards was there, and then suddenly they lost 3 or 4 towers and 2 inhibitors just from that. And I'm actually surprised that eSuba backed off, because I think they could have just won it with two members down. But they're playing it very safe, and I think that's the smart thing also, is that you can see they're very controlled. They're not underestimating their opponents. You know, in the interviews, they've been very respectful, and I can see why, and this is translating into game. They're respecting their enemies. They're not stretching themselves unnecessarily. And we've seen this in every single game. One team seems to be taking an advantage, and just slowly building that advantage. Now, I thought ESG grabbed it back when they won that one team fight, but it looks like they didn't, and yeah, it seems I'm not actually sure how Euronics can pull this back.
Yeah, so Euronics only... The best they were able to pull out of this game was getting even with eSuba, but never really ahead. And there we go, it's a good going for the ultimate, though this one is definitely not as successful as I would like it to be. The team fight begins pretty sloppy. They've got a good grasp on Jarvan. The Zyra is pretty low. Oh, it's very dangerous to stay right here. And once again, the combo bullet time with the curtain call erases the Zyra completely from the game. But I feel like missing the kill on Jarvan could complicate things a little bit when you catch Orianna like that. That is a perfect revenge that Humanoid wanted to get on Pretty throughout the entirety of the game for the 4th death that he's got on his account. And right now, Jarvan is left with very little people to support him, and that's going to be a problem too, for sure. Yaki is getting hit by Caitlyn. He definitely doesn't want to die right there, but Sekudka, he's already shown how much he can soak up, but finally he'll get finished off, and there's a double even for Marmel, but that is not enough. And Donards, somehow, for the first time, he's not killed as the first, but as the last in the team fight. Although that seals the deal and seals the game right here, the scoreline that we're going to get to see. So from the winners brackets, they continue on to the grand finals. eSuba, the team from Czech Republic. At the end of the day, ESG did put up a nice resistance, but it wasn't enough. And yeah, they will have a little bit of time to think about it all. They did very well in terms of the farm, in terms of the lanes. In my opinion, there was no problem in that.
No, I think they did actually very well quite far into the game, you know, like about early mid-game, oh, mid-game, I guess they did well. And that was where they started to lose it. But I think that's what they need to take away from it, is that they were able to go toe-to-toe against eSuba in the early game. They were able to survive through laning phase, and not just survive, but actually do well. So it's good to see them doing so well up until that point, but they need to just they need to be quicker on their decisions and find out where they're going and what they're aiming to do. So I will be heading off and finding someone to interview.
Okay, sure. Go ahead. Hopefully you have good luck. And wow, eSuba indeed getting another win for themselves. I don't want to say quite smoothly, because they had some problems right there. But at the end of the day, ESG never really got the advantage. And if they really thought that they had the better picks and bans, I'm not too sure if that's going to happen again. But I feel like maybe they felt confident putting the enemy team on a misfortune with a Jhin, which, in their opinion, after banning out so many AD carries, might not have seemed so strong. But it turns out to have been an amazing combo. The curtain call on top of, or rather the other way around, the bullet time on top of a curtain call, because bullet time is a little bit more colorful. That's what you see right on top of it. It dished out tons of damage, and everybody just got erased the moment it was used. They didn't use it too often. They didn't use it in any key situations really for most of the time, but you could see how spectacular it was. Sekudka definitely not bad on these ultimates. Maybe in the last team fight, he just jumped into a Jarvan who was very deep into his lineup, but still, interestingly enough, the rest of Euronics Gaming stood still a while back. So even though Wardyne wanted to get a lot of like control, wanted to start off the team fight from afar, wanted to really get the momentum going for them, that didn't necessarily happen because maybe Euronics were a little bit too afraid at that point. And most importantly, the Baron was just so effective. There were 3 inner turrets still standing for Euronics Gaming. I'm not too sure how it worked out so perfectly for them, but they did not only take out the inner turrets, but also 2 inhibitors. I guess a part of that is Dawn Arts getting caught out so many times. Once forced to back away, the second time killed off. And yeah, even if you shut down Humanoid a little bit, it's just still not enough to stop his Syndra completely. But definitely kudos to the middle lane of Euronics Gaming. You did quite well on the Orianna for sure. And I think that they should keep up that performance if it doesn't get banned next time. So we are going to get eSuba into the grand finals. Right now, up ahead of us is going to be Ecstatis versus Bulldog Esports. And this is the last chance for both of these teams. This is the loser's match. The loser gets knocked out and doesn't get too much out of this tournament. Of course, a lot of valuable experience, but I'm not sure if any of them will be satisfied. Although for Bulldog, it's extra valuable, as they're quite a fresh lineup right there. They've never been on an international LAN tournament. That's what they told us, at least. And for Alza Ecstatis, well, these guys, on a pre-daily basis, they have the chance to face off against the eSuba, right? So they have that international kind of level, that real high kind of level of an enemy on their home scene. But if we're talking about Bulldog Esports, they're playing on the UK scene right there. Yeah, we have some considerable teams, but it's not necessarily quite the Challenger Series level. So right here, they're going to get the chance to face off against some more considerable lineups. And hopefully for them, they're going to be able to win at least one map right here. But that would mean that we are wishing Ecstatis to fall out without doing anything. And that's definitely what we don't want to happen. But the fact is, one of the teams will have to get eliminated right here, and that's going to get decided by the match that's about to come. And right after that is going to be the decider match. If Euronics actually get back to face off against eSuba in the grand finals, maybe in a best of 3, they're going to get more than one chance, and maybe they will find the golden way of beating the Czech Republic's team. Because right now, eSuba are damn strong, and I'm quite sure that Nikita will have an interview with one of eSuba's players ready for you in no time. So surely looking forward to that. And you're going to meet a player that is not Sekutka, so also something fresh and new. But overall, now 2 hours of free time for eSuba. They'll have a lot of time to figure everything out. They're going to grab something to eat. They're going to take a little bit of a break, relax. They also will want to get themselves warmed up for the next match. So there's a lot of stuff that these guys can do. While Euronics, they have to remain extremely focused. Next up, they are going to go against the victor of Ecstatis versus Bulldog Esports. And I feel like no matter who they will face off against, they should be able to win. Although I don't think they should be overconfident. And just like that, they will also have to focus on this matchup, which is going to take out of them a little bit of energy. And all of the teams are present right here on in the garage from like 1 p.m. I would say. The grand finals was supposed to happen at around 7 or 8. So for ESG, it's definitely going to get tiresome at some point, so they have to be careful about that. Anyway, though, Nikita is ready with one of the players from eSuba, so let's just throw it over to him.
So good. Thank you very much, Nero. I'm here with Denik, the support from eSuba, who's just told me his favorite champion, or he doesn't have a favorite champion, but he loves Zyra, and we can definitely tell by the performance he put in. You were up against a Caitlyn Zyra, and that was very tough, but you seem to have a complete control of the situation and played very well as MF against it. Were you guys nervous going into that lane?
No, we felt pretty confident because we knew the matchup and we got the goals, how the lane have to go, and I think we did really good, so yeah.
No, you absolutely did. You seemed to control it, and it didn't seem like Caitlyn or Zyra were able to get the CC chain and damage to win. Did you expect Euronics to ban Varus and Ashe and force you guys on the Jhin?
Yeah, we expect this, but we felt confident on Jhin, and I think already did a really good job this game.
No, absolutely, you guys did. So what happened in the mid-game, you know, when Euronics did very well, they got 4 kills, and did you guys panic, or were you worried that you'd lost the momentum?
I don't think that we panicked, but we failed the wave management in the mid game. We sent Syndra on the sideline, and that was the bad idea. And we communicate in the game about this, and then we find a good way to win the game.
Okay, well that's great. Well, I mean, you've beaten 2 teams so far. Are you going to win the whole tournament?
I hope so.
So, okay, well, it's been great interviewing you. Great performance, and I'll see you in the finals. Thanks a lot, Danik. Once again, Danik, who just performed very well in the finals of, or just the semi-finals of the match on MF. We'll be going to a 5-minute break before the next game between the Bulldogs and Alphacans. Thank you, then.